trust is the fundamental of relationship. If you really want to have a high-performing team, you have to build that relationship. I don't know anyone leaving a company because they had some toxic coworker. They leave companies because they have toxic manager. So the organization should provide that leadership skill set and training and roadmap before they promote. One-on-ones are not an add-on to a leader's day-to-day tasks or responsibilities. That's not an add-on job. It is the job. Best practices that I've seen and that I've studied, that I've read, that I've heard is that
Hello everyone, this is Michael Ocean, founder and CEO of SellMeThisPen. Super pumped. I got Yusuf Ongel on the call. He's been in sales for over a decade, mostly focusing on outbound lead generation side of things. Founded 3 businesses, exited 1, and currently he's leading a company that is growing 500% to date. So we're gonna learn more about that as well. I wanted to get to just have a conversation with Yusuf today about one-on-one coaching because I know it's his passion. I know he cares a lot about this topic. But before doing that, let's just get to know him. How are you doing, Yusuf?
Oh, thank you so much, Michael, and pleasure to be here. And thank you for the introduction. I've been running an outbound SDR, full cycle SDR services business. Pretty much started about 15 months ago. This year so far, we have grown, I think, about 700, 800%. And we are trying to be really thoughtful of our growth just to deliver the best experience. I've been really big on one-on-ones, especially after starting to build my own business and my own team here at XDR Hub. It's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm more than happy to share some of my learnings, my experience as well. I must be vocal though. I'm just a student sitting on the back seat somewhere, the back end of the classroom, not by any means a coach or thought leader in one-on-one coaching or leadership. I'm more than happy to share my experience and my thoughts.
I love it. And the reality is you're in the trenches. That's the most important thing. And sometimes, you see leaders that, with 20, 30 years experience in coaching sales teams, they need some updates. So it's always good to hear from someone who's doing it firsthand. So before we get started, Yusuf, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you end up in sales? Because I'm super curious to hear that.
Oh, well, I started my career as a teacher. And then I ended up getting a leadership position at a language school back in Turkey. And that just led me to acquiring the company that I was just a manager. After about 5 years running that business, even though it's education, when you're a leader, it's not just about managing teams, it's also about revenue. I was primarily focused on revenue, which I'm not really proud of. The team piece was a really missing piece. Like, unfortunately, they don't teach how to lead teams, how to run one-on-ones, how to coach your team members at any point at any company that I've worked. So ended up in literally sales from a teaching background. Then I exit that business after 5 years. Moved out to Russia, spent a couple of years working for a tech startup as their operations director. Again, that was B2C sales. You can't really know what the future holds for you. And we ended up in the United States about 6 years ago. That's where I heavily dialed in B2B sales. I started with commodity sales and then pivoted back to tech sales, primarily in outbound lead generation. After about 3 years working in some SDR positions, I decided it was time that I focus on building my own business, my own dream, let's say. It wasn't like intentional. And frankly speaking, I tried not to get into sales as hard as I could. But I also did door-to-door sales for about 3.5 months. That was like probably the biggest learning in my life in sales.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you don't plan. You just take whatever life serves you. And I think I did that, ended up in sales.
That's amazing. Like most of us, I guess, personally, I never heard anyone come and say, look, when I was a kid, I always dreamed of being a salesperson, go knocking people's doors,
Yeah, I don't know anyone either. It just happens, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. So look, Currently, I know you're running a smaller team and you're big in one-on-one coaching. We had conversations in the past. I always ask this question: why not, peer-to-peer coaching, or why not group sessions? Like, why one-on-one is, so much more powerful, or maybe not. So I want to hear your perspective.
Well, here's the thing. You see, one-on-ones are not there to replace peer-to-peer or team meetings. They all serve for the same purpose at the end of the day. They all serve for business, but they have different goals at the end of the day. You might focus on metrics or team performance or updates, features, whatever in your team meetings. Or by all means, your team members should have peer-to-peer meetings with each other as well, just to get to know each other, to build a relationship. But at the end of the day, you see, high performing teams or great teams out there, they actually operate that good because of the trust between the team members. And when I say the team members, I'm not excluding leaders or managers out there. And trust is the fundamental of relationship. If you really want to have a high performing team, you have to build that relationship. That's how we evaluate trust. We evaluate trust based on our relationship with one another. And it comes down to the question: how can you build, the very much needed relationship with your direct reports on a team meeting?
Mm-hmm.
You see, like, it's not just about talking about metrics or goals or company goals. Your team members, your direct reports, they do have their goals as well, their personal goals. Beyond that, they have their life challenges. If you don't know what they're going through today, how are you going to support them as a manager? And if you don't know, like, very simply, and I'm very guilty of that in the past. If you don't know your direct report's child's name, very simple question. If you don't know your direct report's child's name, how are you going to build that relationship that they will trust you as a leader? They will open up to you, share their challenges, and those challenges might be huge, like tremendously impacting the way your business is operating, actually. And I've heard that from many people. When I talk to leaders, friends, or sometimes my clients, and the challenges that they're facing with their team members not delivering the best results or whatever, you see, it comes down to what's happening in that direct reports, your employees' personal life. If they're going through a divorce, you can't expect them to do their best. And if you don't know that they are going through a divorce, you can't really expect them to give 100%. And a lot of times leaders are asking 110% from their employees or direct reports. But you have to get to know them to build that relationship so that there's trust, and then you can talk about deliverables. I think that's an important, critical piece here. Like, one-on-ones are not to replace any other meetings. They are meant to, build that relationship needed for both parties, so you can actually operate at max efficiency.
Look, I love this because we had many guests on the call from different walks of life. We get VPs, we get enablement folks, and they share the same sentiment. It's not only about building the skill sets or going through some of the challenges they face in the business, because skills can be built, skills with practice and
Absolutely.
different. But that one-on-one trust comes through knowing them in personal level. What's going on in your life? What are your ambitions? Like, why are you even in sales? Why are you here at this company? Now, I wanted to go back to actually, sales and the skill building side of things. Based on your experience, a group setting, one-on-one setting, which one is more effective and why?
Well, I think, again, I don't want to dispose any type of meeting for as long as they are really efficient,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they're all needed. But if you're wasting your time and your direct's time in any of those meetings without any, actionable items, any, measurable deliverables, uh, they're all going to go in the same bucket. It comes down to how efficient they are. The goal of one-on-ones is naturally giving feedback to your employees or direct reports. It's about the deliverables that you are talking here. It is coaching based on their needs, their priorities. And there's no way you can do that on a team setting. And I'll tell you this. I mean, just like 6 months ago, I would run team meetings rather than one-on-ones, because at the end of the day, it takes a lot of time on your calendar. Like I said, I have a smaller team, relatively smaller team, only about right now 10 people. But when you count the time that you are spending, half an hour, and then the buffer time before and after, and the preparation for those meetings, that's about 10 hours a week, on my calendar that I'm spending with 10 direct reports. And I went to the route, unfortunately, I'm not proud of this, of having team meetings and directly talking about their deliverables. And at one point, I started feeling like some of the team members are really feeling disengaged, and they're not really vocal. They're not talking. They're just listening. And then I knew I had to stop it. I knew I had to do something different. So I asked team members what they would prefer. Do you prefer team meetings for, these sessions, talking about whatever you want to talk, or would you prefer one-on-one? Without exception, and every single one of them preferred one-on-ones. They can't, and you can't expect them to be vocal about whatever their priorities are or whatever they're going through in front of others. We tend to build that relationship with individuals, not with organizations. So team is an organizational level meeting, but a meeting, one-on-one meeting, is a personal level meeting. So I think they fall into different buckets here in terms of efficiency as well.
This makes absolute sense. Look, it might be a little bit controversial to say it. In my mind, group practice sessions or coaching sessions are toxic. And many people out there are going to disagree with me, and that's totally fine. Because what I genuinely believe is you want that safe environment, and that safe environment comes with privacy. You cannot, open up in front of other folks, because typically, again, if you take something out of that meeting, it's because you struggle somewhere. And sharing that struggle, although you build a good relationship inside the team, especially if you have a larger team, like have some personal experiences, like in team of 50, we're sitting and CRO is sitting there, and we do, practice sessions, or we do coaching sessions. It's really uncomfortable. And I'm never going to be 100%, truthful and sharing everything that I'm doing wrong or I need help, because it's just uncomfortable. Like even in our lives, if going back, like your, bigger family, 2 sisters. Sometimes I didn't want to share in a family, and it's a family. We're super close. We live, together 24/7. Maybe I wanted to have a conversation with my parents, in a private setting. So to me, it's just this whole group setting comes because of some challenges. Leaders really don't have the bandwidth, and historically we didn't have the technology to really, offer this one-on-one, coaching at scale. So if you have a smaller team, it might be possible, but if you have a large team, it's almost impossible to do this effectively.
I think that brings us down to another aspect of one-on-ones, delegation. I mean, on team meetings, you can delegate to some extent, and you can only delegate very generic tasks or anything that will impact the entire team. And you mentioned something really valuable there. Leaders don't have the bandwidth to actually have one-on-ones with everyone. I think that's a big misconception out there, and the biggest problem out there about one-on-ones. One-on-ones are not an add-on to a leader's day-to-day tasks or responsibilities. That's not an add-on job. It is the job. One-on-ones are the primary job of a leader, a manager, to draw a career path, to build relationships, so they increase engagement, they increase retention, they increase deliverables, performance, and everything. So that is the job itself. And and some might really not like hearing this, but I know, unfortunately, many leaders not running one-on-ones, and when they do, they are making a lot of, unfortunately, mistakes. It is the job. I mean, you have to spend time and show your direct reports that you care about them, you care about their thoughts, and you want to be there, present for them, be a resource for them to help them get wherever they want to get. And that's the only space you can create that. The only tool, and one-on-ones is a manager tool. The only tool you can create that space is one-on-one relationship, and giving them that safe, transparent space where they can communicate with you without any fears.
This reminds me of a physical event that I recently attended in Toronto before I moved out of the country. And Kyle Nordstrom was there, is a CRO of a fast-growing Canadian tech startup. And he shared some stats. I don't remember the actual numbers. It really, touched deeply on this. It was like, we simply say, okay, leaders don't have the skill sets or bandwidth to do this. But based on this research, actually, there's another factor involved. They don't have the passion for coaching. They don't want
Oh
to
yeah,
coach. So that's the reality we are
I love that.
dealing with. Then my question is, why leadership? Why do you need to be a leader? Maybe you could be a better, high performing, individual and make actually a lot more money. So the question is like, where the problem actually starts. Like, is it maybe we are promoting our high performing reps to management, and then again they walk the senior leadership path? Maybe that's the angle to look at.
Well, I think on an individual basis, there's no problem with wanting some growth. No problem with expecting some promotion path from an organization. The problem there is not an individual level problem. That's an organizational problem. If your managers are not enabled properly on leadership skills, and leadership skills are transferable. Anyone can learn how to be a good leader. And if they don't do that, that's a big problem the organization is facing. That's where you have the quiet quitting, or you have employees running away. Man, like I'll tell you this, like I don't know anyone leaving a company because they had some toxic coworker. They leave companies because they have toxic manager. So the companies should, the organization should provide that leadership skill set and training and roadmap before they promote. Just because I want it doesn't mean that you should give it to me.
Mhm.
Am I ready? There's so many measurables that you can go through, and you can build that roadmap. This is why it's critical that you have one-on-ones with your direct reports, because you know what they want to be. And I'll tell you this, like this is a personal experience, a very personal experience. One of the companies I worked for, they hired a business development manager, and that was like my dream job. And they just hired someone externally, and I will being the one leading the pack, high performer, and literally like having some leadership experience. I had to be vocal about it. I was like, why didn't you offer that job internally? And the answer was, I didn't know you wanted it. And I said, you never asked. I mean, that's where the communication is broken. This is why you have to have that one-on-one. So you're transparent with the processes. You communicate properly with your direct reports. You know what their expectations are. And as a manager, your job is setting them up for success to get to where they want to get, not being a blocker or saying you didn't know about their expectations. Everybody wants to make more money. Everybody wants to climb up in the ladder. Yes, some people are not really willing to, taking a lot of responsibilities, and totally understandable. But do you really know whether or not they want the responsibility? And that the only way to find out is building that space with your direct reports.
What you shared resonates so much because I walked through the same challenge that you just shared. And to your point, companies really don't build this growth path for their people. Even if they have some processes in place, everything is really biased. Even if they promote within the organization, sometimes because you don't know your hidden talent or their desires, because you never again have that coaching ability or leadership ability to understand what they're looking for. That's why you lose your high performing reps. Like it happened. I was on top of a
Absolutely.
chart and I was like, I'm gone. Like because I don't see, any path, moving forward. And it seems like we have to put so much effort. Then why do we even need managers or leaders? Your job, to your point, is to help your team be more successful. And success in the sales organization is what? Making more money, being more,
Absolutely.
visible. So again, senior leadership can see that you are performing, and growing your career. The other side, like, hey, I'm an individual rep, I'm going to go sell more enterprise, bigger deals, more strategic accounts, or go to the leadership. It's not that complicated, but do we really care to do that? So let me ask you something. You are growing right now, and you're growing really fast. So naturally, some of your team members might actually today think about like leadership position or more senior positions. And if I'm not mistaken, you hire someone as a manager, as a BDR manager
I did. Yeah,
recently.
I
How
did.
do you how do you coach your BDR manager to actually be the coach?
Oh, that's a very nice question, and that's something really still challenging me. Um, I think it comes down to how good of a coach I am, and again, we human beings, we tend to evaluate ourselves as performing well. We don't see our faults, unfortunately. Uh, and interestingly, I can even mention a study. I think it was about 4,000 leaders, managers were asked how good they are with their coaching skills, and then the answer is just I'm performing well and I'm performing low. And they asked the same question to their directs.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interesting finding. 24% of those who thought they were really doing well were rated as underperforming by their direct reports. So how do I do that? How do I know if I'm doing well or not? That's another piece of, again, one-on-ones. I do ask for feedback. How I can do better as a leader, and I like leading by example, number one. Uh, but I'm a human being. I can make mistakes. I cannot see some of the things I should be doing better probably as an external couple of eyes. You just tell me what I'm missing, and I'm more than happy to implement those. So being open to feedback from your directs is critically important here to lead by example. It's not just about giving feedback to your direct reports. At times, every now and then, you really should ask for feedback from your direct reports. If not just a survey asking like a couple of questions, just directly ask them, what do you think I should be doing better to be a better manager? You see, this is a journey for me as well. I just mentioned that I'm a student in this journey still. And your feedback is important to me because I care about your thoughts and I want you, help me improve. There's so much you can do. It's not just this or that. But what you can do to lead them is provide. This comes down to enablement again. It's not just leadership enablement. It's also about employee enablement in whatever space they are. How are you allocating your time with your directs when you have those one-on-ones? Is it you just pitching them, talking to them, and they're just silently listening to you, and you're expecting them they will record whatever you say and they will do whatever you say? Or is it really their time that you are present there? You're listening to them, taking your notes, and taking actions yourself as well. Are you providing any external training or coaching to your team as well? Which is, I think, we are doing pretty well here. And frankly speaking, leadership is something recently that came to my desk now, and then I'm looking for alternatives, literally, to kind of like see how I can help anyone on the team become better when they are leaders. So I don't want them kind of like figure it out once they get the title, versus I want them to get ready for that position and then get the title. Now you run your teams. So there's so much that you can do, actually. It's not just one or two things, but I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying I know the best out there, but trying lots of different things, man.
What I'm hearing here is the way we, let's say, onboard our reps or get them ready to perform. We're talking about outbound sales right now, lead generation, outbound SDR, and this is your bread and butter. It doesn't matter which tool you're using. What I'm trying to say is you invest in your people. You get them ready before you send them on field, because you don't want to have a bad experience for your buyer as well. So what I'm hearing is you need to invest the same amount of energy and time and resources for their career growth. So if you're thinking about promoting
Absolutely.
someone, they require that sort of attention so they can get ready for their internal buyers your team so you can grow. It's not only about external, right? Do you believe your reps burn leads practicing on client calls? When it comes to giving them one-on-one coaching sessions, you just don't have the bandwidth, so you get rid of them altogether? Or maybe you notice that your team spends a lot of time on non-revenue tasks like taking notes, updating CRM, or drafting emails. These are the exact challenges we solve for other revenue leaders like yourself. With SellMeThisPen AI Coach, you can offer your reps role-play sessions at scale while automating one-on-one coaching sessions based on your best practices and methodology. Also, AI will take care of all their non-revenue tasks, like note-taking, CRM updates, draft the email for them, so they can focus on constant improvement while you're focusing on one thing and one thing only: revenue growth. If you're interested in learning more about the clients we are working with or use cases that might be beneficial to you, check us out at SellMeThisPen.ai. Now, I wanted to go back to more tactical aspect of coaching. So what I'm hearing is,
Okay.
first and foremost, you build that safe culture. You build that culture of coaching, so everybody knows from your direct reports and reps and also your managers that coaching is extremely important. And you yourself as a leader keep updating yourself, keep assessing and see where the gaps might be to do a better job. This is an ongoing
Yeah.
process. There's no stop. Now let's get a little bit more tactical and talk about SDR orgs. So when it comes to tactical training, what are the typical, challenges that you see SDRs or BDRs are facing, and then how do you coach them to do better?
Well, now we're talking about the hows. So far, it was the why. Why do we need one-on-ones? And now, in terms of the SDR, BDR standpoint, I think one of the biases is we as managers, we tend to think everybody wants to become a salesperson. If they're an SDR, they're going to end up in an AE. They want it. No, they should want it. I mean, this is why they're an SDR. Mm-hmm. And again, that means more responsibility. That means more stress for the individual. I think one of the critical things, again, is communicating with them transparently, understanding what they want. Some people really want to climb up in a leadership position. Some really want to improve their sales skills. Some want to move into customer success. The SDR position is such a variety position that you can actually transition into many other departments: customer support, customer success, account management. You can move into marketing and demand gen nowadays being one of the most important critical positions or functions. They can move into sales. So I think understanding their expectation is important here. So I do communicate with them. And when I say I communicate with them, it's about how I run my one-on-ones. Typically, the suggested model is 10, 10, 10. I like having weekly sessions. And this is like it's going into a little bit what the best practices out there are as well for one-on-one coaching sessions. So I just said that if the manager is talking a lot and the direct report is just listening, that's not a one-on-one. That's an opportunity for manager to just pitch slap whatever they want to say to their direct reports. And guess what? Nobody is going to say, hey, you don't let me speak, because there is the power. You have the power there. And they're not going to go against whatever you want, however you want to implement that one-on-one. So the best practices that I've seen and that I've studied, that I've read, that I've heard, is that you run weekly one-on-ones for 30 minutes with your reps. Now, when you first start implementing that, you will probably have some blockers that your rep will be speaking a lot more than you want them to speak, or you might have some time management issues. You might run over or finish early or whatever. But typically what I do is allocating 15 minutes to my rep to speak about whatever they want to speak. When I say whatever they want to speak, that can be literally about their dog. It can be about their neighborhood. It can be some tornado happening somewhere. It can be political elections, whatever they want to talk about. I'm down for it. I want to hear their thoughts. I want to understand them as a human being to build that relationship. So And if they want to talk more than 15 minutes, I'm not going to stop them. See, like, that means this is something important to them and they're building that relationship. It might take some more time with some people. You might get to the point where you really run effective 15 minutes for your rep, 15 minutes for you, or more ideally, 10 minutes your rep is speaking, 10 minutes you speak about your agenda, and the last 10 minutes you allocated for future goals and deliverables, which is business now. But I'm not there. I'm letting my reps to take as much time as I want. With some people, it will take a couple of months to have that structure. With some people, it will take half a year, maybe more. So what I'm doing to understand them better is just letting them talk right now and taking my notes. Like, believe it or not, I'm an old school guy. And I know AI tool is out there, a lot of AI out there. And I used AI tools, note taking, for my one-on-one sessions as well. Guess what? I never went back and looked what they said or what the AI tool took notes about. And next time we are connecting again, we're just, talking about probably the same things, or there's no measurable deliverables here again that I'm tracking. I had to put a bullet in it. So I built literally a folder that every rep has their own section there, and I'm taking my notes individually, their personal life. I ask them, this is one of the probably tips that I would love to share. I have one same question that I'm asking everyone every week when I start the one-on-one. How's it going? It's a very simple question. How is it going? And you won't believe how impactful it can be when you're tracking the progress. When you hear from your direct report, great, every week, and then one week they come in and they say, not bad. Now you know that there's something wrong. And now forget about the agenda. Don't become an agenda fascist. Just move on to discussing whatever is wrong in their life now, and understand their personal challenges, so you can set some business deliverables. If I'm, like I said, if I'm going through a divorce, probably I won't be performing what you're expecting, and I should know about that so I can plan my business roadmap accordingly over the next maybe couple of months until you figure everything out. So with sales organizations, understanding what they want to become is number one, and that comes through, again, communicating and building that relationship, and then helping them with whatever they want to become. If they want to get into marketing, support them with whatever materials they need or whatever training, enablement, coaching they need to get into marketing or demand gen, or if they want to become an account executive, now you support them with some sales training. Internal, external, doesn't really matter, or better if both. If they want to become a manager, now you know that you need to focus on their leadership skills. You don't have to be a great salesperson to be a great leader or a great manager. You just have to be a great leader, understanding all the dynamics of leadership, and what you can do once you understand their roadmap and outline their roadmap. You just support them in that specific road.
You know what's interesting about this? What I'm hearing is it's all about them. Like the first and foremost, it's just about them. Like, and I love the fact that you don't rush through things and you don't jump the gun to get into business if they need to, talk about something outside of business. Because to your point, if their mind is not ready for it, if they're going through a divorce, as an example you share, what do you want to tell them right now? You want to change their skills and get to accounts and try to figure. They listen to you because you have the authority, but are they going to really understand it and absorb it and apply it later? I doubt that. Let me go back again to the skill set conversation. So just imagine if someone's mindset is ready, you're already aligned, you know their career path, they want to get into, let's say, sales, leadership, demand gen, whatever it might be. You want to get more hands-on. You want to look at where they're struggling in terms of performance. Would you bring that to one-on-one coaching that you just explained, or you keep that conversation in a complete separate setting?
That's a nice question, and I would, and I think anyone should, to understand the blockers behind the performance. Now, but one-on-ones by all means are not any performance review sessions. but they are golden nuggets that will lead to their performance, that you can give feedback and understand their blockers, so that whenever your performance review is quarterly or bi-yearly, whatever, so you can actually collect the data going backwards and have a more accurate performance review. I would definitely bring, and I think that brings us to one of the things I would love to mention is, it's a critical or constructive feedback. Let's say you have to be really critical sometimes when it comes down to giving feedback. It's very interesting. It's amazing me, and I've always thought that I'm very critical when it comes down to giving feedback. I focus on the areas that they should be improving, they can improve, rather than just talking about, hey, you're doing great, keep doing what you're doing. I want to deliver some value. You see, like if you are doing everything all right, then I shouldn't be your manager. And interestingly, studies show that 73% of direct reports want critical or constructive feedback, but they don't receive from their managers. I mean, this is why you're having that one-on-one. I mean, if I'm not calling the elephant in the room,
yep,
as the manager, you're not going to call it. That's again the dynamics of power there. I should be the one bringing it up if it's not on their agenda. And again, I always get into a meeting one-on-one with an agenda. I have my bullet points that I want to cover. Sometimes it's mutual. They have the same things on their calendar or on their agenda. If they don't, I do want to quickly mention that, hey, thank you for coming up prepared, whatever you have to praise anyways, to keep it going. But one of the things that I wanted to discuss, and sounds like it's not on your agenda, is XYZ. So do you mind sharing more on that, or why it's happening this way? And again, I need to hear your thoughts before I can share my thoughts about it. I need to understand your feelings, because I give feedback, and I need to understand the underlying reasons before I can actually provide that constructive feedback. It might be totally outside the business, the reason might be totally irrelevant to business, but it comes down to, again, understanding those. So yeah, 100%, you should be given that constructive feedback, and the constructive feedback doesn't necessarily mean always giving negative feedback. It can be positive as well. So give positive and negative constructive feedback every session if you can. And I do have that feedback is part of the agenda. There should be a moment where you actually call out whatever they've been improving or whatever they need to improve, and give that feedback. This is being a coach. This is the coaching piece of your one-on-ones. Relationship, we built it. Now you trust me. You take me as a leader. You consider whatever I say as superior to you, whatever you want to call it. Now it's time that I share my thought. That's why I have that 15 minutes is yours and 15 minutes is mine. But that 15 minutes is not just for me. It is still for you and for the business.
This is really interesting. So, what I'm hearing is, although you leverage a lot of AI tools and you have processes in place, you still run your one-on-ones because there's a lot of value in it. So, speaking of AI, what would you completely outsource to AI tools? What would you keep, even if you grow your team 10x in terms of headcount, to one-on-one sessions?
Man, question I was afraid of. And I'll tell you why. I do utilize a lot of AI tools, and as you said, we use SellMeThisPen for AI coaching. In terms of skills, the sales calls or cold call quality check-in. I want to say it's not about what I would outsource with AI. It's about what I wouldn't. And it sounds scary to me. That's a scary future that I really don't want to see. People building that relationship with AI. I mean, you can ask AI to support your direct reports with their sales skills, with their leadership skills. They can learn how to run one-on-ones, how to run team meetings, how to do performance reviews, everything like that, everything that sort. But how is it going to build that relationship that we've been talking about? How is it going to build that trust that your direct is feeling that they are being heard of? And whatever they are giving feedback, there should be a human being at the end of the day behind that AI, reviewing the AI notes and still building that relationship. I think this is the scary moment. I wouldn't want to see the level where we human beings are building that sort of a relationship with AI. So many things that you can actually outsource with AI, still have your role plays just to continue building that relationship. That's another thing. But your, like I said, any skill sets that is transferable, you can do that. Relationship is not something that you can expect computer to build with you, knowing that there is no one behind it. How are you going to talk about your feelings, emotions, your roadmap, your expectations from the business, and then not knowing my reaction as your manager, reading those notes and giving some review or coming back to you with some performance reviews? I think that's the critical nuance there about AI. I don't think it's not possible that AI will get to that level to build relationship, but I'm just scared of that.
We share the same sentiment, although we are an AI company, and some of the things I'm sharing is already being built. But this is my last question for you. Maybe harsh reality, maybe sad reality, or maybe, it's not even true. In 4 or 5 years' time from now on, do you think AI will get to that level that, completely take over that this one-on-one relationship that we are building, or no? You think still we're gonna have? It's just again purely your opinion. I'm just curious to hear.
Yeah, well, I'm not a medium naturally, but looking back like 5 years ago, it just blows our minds how much AI improved. And interestingly, like one of the podcasts I listened to about leadership, dating back to 2020s, they're not even mentioning about AI note takers at all. Now, 4 years ago, in one-on-one coaching or in leadership, there is no AI note taken. There is no even remote over Zoom one-on-one coaching sessions that they're mentioning. They're mentioning those, they're talking about those. We were talking about those as a potential solution when you can't do one-on-ones face-to-face. But in today's world, things have been changing so fast, it's really hard to tell whether or not it is going to take it over. I personally believe that's not possible in short term, maybe over a couple of generations, yes. But over the next 5 years, I don't see people building that relationship with AI so they can replace all their one-on-ones. And again, some of my clients that I'm talking to, these are tech buyers. And some ideas that we are trying to improve the process of outbound, whatever. And I do have conversations with them sometimes to validate some idea. And one of the questions I asked them was, if you were given the option to work with an AI tool, running a discovery call for your tech needs, or having that conversation with a human being, which one would you prefer? Well, 90% of the times it was, for as long as it is a high level overview about our needs, yes, we can do it with an AI, but for a deep dive conversation to understand our pain, we would prefer a human being behind the screen. I think that's the nuance there. I think AI and human combined will, if you can utilize it in your one-on-one coaching as well, there will be a time that we can utilize one-on-one coaching AI tools. But we will still need the human factor to make it still effective, efficient, to build that trust within the organization, to build that trust between team members, managers, and direct reports. Sounds very
Again,
political answer, but
like fingers crossed. Because to your point, like nobody knows. Like everybody has, different opinions. Obviously, like yeah, there are some facts. Like companies are really building and pushing, things forward. But to your point, nobody knows for sure what will come next. But even in my experience right now, I'm still being a seller for my company. I see people trust you because you go sometimes beyond business conversation. You know some stuff about their personal, goals and ambitions, and you have these conversations. Sometimes even outside of Zoom meeting when you don't have all the stakeholders involved, and that's how you build, that relationship with your champion when you talking about like enterprise sales. It's not always about numbers, and I genuinely know some of my champions like about the wine they want to bring to their father-in-law on the weekend, and we have that conversation. Can you do this with AI? Sure. Does it feel the same? I don't know, maybe so. For some people maybe that's not for me.
well, in the far future, it might be a way, but in the near future, and again, near or far, that's a scary scenario that I would definitely try to stay away. But this is like being it's a generational thing. In the future generations, it might be more normal. Right now, I just don't want to see those days, those times.
Well, share the same sentiment here. All right, Yusuf, I really enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate you taking the time. If someone wants to reach out to you, first and foremost, can they and how?
Oh yeah, thank you. They can absolutely. They can find me on LinkedIn, and they can go on www.xdrhub.com if they want to connect with me. My calendar link is right there. They can put the time on it with a note, or they can just send me a note. I'm a cold calling person, so I do take cold calls as well. If anybody wants to give me a call, I'm not gonna share my phone number right here, but I'm pretty sure my number is out there somewhere. They can give me a cold call if they have something to discuss for sure. I'm always down to meeting new people and networking. Absolutely.
That's amazing. All right, guys. I hope you learned something new today. And I guess that's pretty much it for now. And see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.